Welcome to the Williamsport Symphony Orchestra Roundtable. We've gathered just some of the members of our Artistic Advisory Group to talk about the orchestra's upcoming season for 2021-2022. With us, of course, is Maestro Gerardo Edelstein, Music Director of the Williamsport Symphony Orchestra. My name is Suzanne Murray, and I head up the advisory group. And what exactly are we? We're a group of volunteers from the community, as well as orchestra musicians, who dedicate hours listening to possible choices for the upcoming season. So with that, Gerardo, would you like to explain more how you create the season?
Sure. Thank you very much, Suzanne. It's a pleasure to be here and be with all of you, even though through Zoom rather than in person. Putting together the season is one of the most exciting things as music director that I get to do. It's just shuffling with a lot of repertoire music that we want to showcase, and actually we want to prepare so well for our audience. And the task is not easy. Why? Because there are, tons of pieces, works, out there. We only have 5 concerts, unfortunately. We are very lucky to have those 5 concerts, but you can imagine that the amount of music is huge. So what we do is I look first into the repertoire the symphony has performed recently in the past 10 years. So that's the first thing important to do, so then we don't repeat music that we have recently performed. And also music that the players, want to perform, that they have not play in years, and they come to me and they say, why we don't do this piece, why we don't do this other piece, and just try to balance and juggle between the two. So that will include diversity, will include pieces from different composers through all the different musical eras. And I'm always insist on variety. Variety is really, really, really important. So then every concert has something for everyone, music that people will recognize immediately, or sometimes I introduce new composers. We have had commissions in the past, and we'll continue doing that. Ultimately, just to putting together a program that will please everyone and that will be exciting and everybody will be looking forward to it. And this committee is very special because it's made up with as Suzanne said, with volunteers and also musicians from the orchestra that really want to contribute in putting together these programs. They are great help. You are great help to me. And so now I would love to hear from you. What do you think about the upcoming season? And if you could first tell us what is your connection with the WSO, and then I will love to hear what do you like the most of being part of this committee? And then if you could choose one piece from the upcoming season to share with our audience, that will be fantastic. So on the right of my screen is Rick Coulter. So I will turn the microphone to Rick.
Thank you very much, Gerardo. It's a real pleasure to serve on this committee. I come to it as a board member for 30 plus years, a player occasionally when you need a 4th or 5th trumpet player, and director of the Williamsport Symphony's Billtown Brass Band. So I've done multiple things, and I'm excited about, as I have before, serving on this committee. We serve a really important function, as you described, and I'm so excited about the program you've chosen this year because it has a great deal of diversity. My favorite piece is going to be the Adagietto from the 5th Symphony by Gustav Mahler. It's not the big rambunctious piece that we often think of with Mahler. It's maybe one of my favorite pieces of music, one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written. And that's why I can't wait it's further on through the season, so I'm gonna have to wait for that one. But that's going to be a very, very special night when everyone gets to see and hear the beauty that Gustav Mahler has shared with us.
Yeah, and for whom he wrote this adagietto.
I don't.
So it's actually for his wife, Alma Mahler, actually for his future wife. This is kind of a declaration of love to Alma Mahler. So what a way, right, to show her, his affection.
And I must add, one of my favorite pieces that I've ever played or listened to is Carnival Overture by Dvorak. It's just the opposite, because from the very first note to the last, it's just screaming along, and we'll get everybody very excited. Great choices, sir.
Thank you very much. Let's move into Georgia. Are you there, Georgia? Can you hear us?
Yes, I unmuted. Thank you very much. And I'm glad to be a part of this group because I've been associated with the symphony, and not only as a listener, but definitely as a player for over 24 years until I couldn't play anymore. And so I can still be connected to be part of this committee and have the privilege of selecting the music and helping to select the music. So I like that very much. And my favorite thing is actually anything Beethoven, because he is my favorite composer. So the Beethoven program I really like. So, and I just enjoy being part of everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgia. And just to share with our audience, the piece we're going to perform is the Pastoral Symphony, Beethoven Symphony number 6. That is perhaps one of his most famous, together with the number 9, that is the Choral Symphony, Ode to Joy. But, it's hard to say, right? Number 5 is also very famous. But a lot of the audience will recognize the music immediately, because it was featured in the movie Fantasia, in the first one. And actually, I grew up watching that movie, and I fell in love with that music also immediately. And let's now turn the microphone to Sue Light, who is our principal oboe in the orchestra.
Okay, I just muted. Okay. Yes, I'm the principal oboe player, and I've been with the orchestra since August of 1989. You have some idea how old I am. Okay. And it is a pleasure to have some say in what music we get to perform, and I really appreciate that opportunity. Basically, the maestro comes up with the kind of master list, and we just help tweak it and get to, but it's fun to do that. Certainly, as an oboe player, on this list, well, I do like the Dvorak Carnival Overture a great deal, and there's some good double reed parts in there. But probably Beethoven would be my single favorite. But I have to agree with Rick on the Mahler. It's not the oboe parts and the slow movement that are gorgeous. It's just the piece is gorgeous. And of course, I happen to be a fan of the rest of the Mahler, hint, hint, for some future date. Some of my favorite oboe parts are in the other movements of the Mahler. But yeah, I think it's gonna be so rewarding just to get on stage with my peers and play again. And I think there's a wide variety in this program, and I think that there should be something for everyone in every program. There should be something that everyone will enjoy. So thank you. And I guess it's kind of a combination of the year we missed, the year and a quarter that we missed, right? So
Exactly.
together a mishmash of the programs that we have lost out on. So thank you. And I definitely will enjoy playing Beethoven again.
That's great. So yeah, and you said something very, very, very important, very moving too, that I think it's going to be for all of us, to going back on stage, all of us, for the first time in such a long time and make music together. I think it's going to be very special, and we will realize, how much we took for granted, the coming to a rehearsal and performing. And now it's going to be different. I'm totally convinced about that we will all feel more connected, and it will be even more special. And I can imagine for the audience too. I can remember I've watching a video. I can't remember exactly which orchestra it was. I believe it was in Europe, that they went back after long period of time without playing, and the audience stood up and clapped for the orchestra for a long period of time, something that never happened before. Just that feeling. I can't wait for that to happen. So very excited about it. Thank you, Sue. And let's move on to Margaret.
Yes. I come to you as your outlier. Suzanne is a friend of mine, and she thought it would be interesting for your board to have a member who was not an orchestra player. And so I am a very active, longtime member of the Susquehanna Valley Chorale. And I have worked with Bill Payne in just about every way you could do it, in terms of working with the programs that we do. And of course, the Symphony and the Chorale have performed several works together up there and down in the Wise Center. And a lot of your orchestra players come and be the Susquehanna Valley Chorale's orchestra when we need an orchestra. So that's my connection. I have found it very interesting just to listen pretty much to you, how you are forming it in comparison to how Bill forms our concerts, and how the various players really enjoy the pieces. And I know the joke is always, the altos are always looking for good lines. So I'm sure the oboe players and some of the lesser lights always are happy when the composer smiles upon them. So I've enjoyed being part of this. I've done this for several years now. I've enjoyed your programs, and I have to say that my favorite is the Pastoral. I love going and sitting and hearing a big, long work where the orchestra has a chance to shine and just have these lush sounds, and it's not over in 5 minutes. You can just enjoy it for a long period of time.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Appreciate it. And now Jason Hurwitz, that he used to play with the symphony, and we won him back, right, Jason?
Thanks for putting the pressure on there. I really appreciate that public shaming. No, it's wonderful being part of this this group, the committee. I've been doing this for several years now, and I came to the symphony by way of my childhood. I grew up playing in the Williamsport Symphony Youth Orchestra under the direction of Mr. Rick Coulter. So my connection to the symphony goes back to early middle school years. And it's true, I have played with the symphony a couple of times, although I have equally enjoyed many concerts as an audience member, which is a side of going to orchestra concerts that I didn't usually get to enjoy growing up. I was always playing in them. So having this organization, and I know this wasn't one of the questions, but having this organization, the Symphony in Williamsport and here in North Central PA, is just such an amazing feat and accomplishment and blessing and all these great words. It's just wonderful. So being part of the committee, getting to help give input into what music will be played and what our community will be exposed to in terms of music is a real honor that I'm thrilled to be a part of. One of the things that makes doing this each year, or being part of this process each year, so exciting is that it's not all just tried and true music, right? Like you talked about earlier, Maestro, that you look at what has the symphony played in the last 10 years. Let's try to avoid that if we can, unless there's some good reason to repeat. But we also, every year, a couple of suggestions are made by members that expose us as committee members to music we might not have otherwise thought of heard of, etc. So that's been really exciting. As far as music that I'm looking forward to in the coming season, my goodness, narrowing it down is really tough. I have to say, I always love hearing the Young Artist Competition winner perform, regardless of what the piece ends up being. It's really exciting. I remember seeing my friends in high school perform on that stage, and so it's really exciting to me to see that. I love all the movie music because I'm a big fan of movie soundtracks, but as a violinist, I tend to stick to, at the end of the day, I think it boils down to I'm looking forward to that February concert with Bruch's Romance and then also Ravel's Zagan. It doesn't get much better than that in the world of violins. So the whole season's awesome, but I'm going to boil it down to those violin spotlights.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jason.
Absolutely.
And Suzanne, last but not least.
Well, I love working with the committee because I got to meet some of the musicians, which I wouldn't normally do, and work with a variety of people and learn from that. And we had a lot of fun. We had some knockdown dragouts about which was going to win, and we had to have tiebreakers when we were going through the choices. So that's been a very big positive. As far as my favorite, I'm going to that February concert too, but the Schumann, because I think that's not played that much, or at least from my perspective, one doesn't see it on programs that much. And I think he's kind of a composer that needs more visibility from my perspective anyway. So how about you, Gerardo? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a very tough, for me, it's a very tough question because, and I always answer, the same way, not to avoid the question, but, I always fall in love with the piece that I am conducting at the moment. And I'm sure my musicians, my colleagues will think similar. I mean, when you're playing something, it's really hard not to like it. There are very few, pieces that you say, well, I'd rather not play this and play that, but I would say 99% of the time as we are performing, in order to make it truthful and make it, exciting and passionate. You have to fall in love with the piece, and I will quote the great late conductor Leonard Bernstein, that we all know. He will say, when he conducts, he becomes the composer. He becomes Mahler, he becomes Beethoven, he becomes Mozart. And I love that idea. It's like we become the composer in trying to bring to life this incredible work in order to get the audience involved and attracted and inspired with the music that we play. So I love all the programs, and there is some light music. Jason mentioned the movie music. There is some more deep and intense music like Tchaikovsky, Romeo and Juliet, or if we go to the last program, the Mahler Adagietto. I'd like to mention that the last program, it will be very interesting because I talked about variety at the beginning of this conversation, and we will have so many different composers that are coming from so many different places. One composer, to look at it, that it's very, very, I discovered, I have to confess, in the past 2 years, Florence Price. She's an amazing American composer of the early 20th century, and wonderful, wonderful music. We are performing a tone poem by her. In the same program, we'll have the Rimsky-Korsakov Capriccio Spagnolo, the Danzone No. 2 by Arturo Marquez, the overture La Gazza Ladra by Rossini. And so such variety and incredible music that I'm sure our audience will absolutely love it. So 5 concerts. Can't wait to to start the season, to start preparing the season, and we'll have fantastic soloists, and Anything else you would like to add before I say goodbye?
I want to know what you liked best about working with the committee, Gerardo.
Oh, I love, you know, I have to say that one of the things that, you know, just drew me to conduct, to be closer to conduct, you know, because I started as a pianist, then I picked up the cello and performed quite a bit, sung in choirs. And one of the things that I love the most is working with people. And I think that the collaborative part of this committee is with always gets me excited about, you know, the new season. I couldn't spend too much time at home playing the piano by myself, you know, and I remember my teacher telling me, okay, you want to be a pianist, you have to spend 5 or 6 hours practicing every day, you know, in a room, you know. And I said, oh, that's not for me. So then that's how I started singing. I started playing the cello so I could play with other people. And then, you know, naturally, I started conducting, and I love that part of it, working with people. And I think it's so important to hear, to listen to what other people have to say. My colleague musicians, people from the community, people who just love music, and they, you know, they may bring some ideas that I never, you know, would have thought about them. So I enjoy it every time, and I will continue doing this. And I would really like to thank you for your time, especially when I bring all those lists of, you know, I don't know how many works, and said, oh guys, just listen to this for next meeting, so that we can start discussing these works. And for your time spending, you know, your time listening and bringing all these wonderful ideas. So I'm very, very thankful.